All right, we're rolling.
Welcome to the Real and Raw podcast. You are with me, Paul, and my co-host Kyle. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm all good. Ready to
Ready for another week,
ready for another week,
another session?
another session.
Not that kind of session.
Some good some good knowledge and wisdom to chow down on.
Yeah. Right. So today we're talking about setting boundaries with close ones. So oftentimes, as you know, you get family members trying to be helpful, trying to, give you some advice, thinking that they're doing things at your best interest or whatever else. However, they cross certain boundaries. It might be in relationships, so they might try and get involved in your relationship a bit too much. There might be in your business, like trying to tell you what to do.
It could be in your personal life.
It could be
so
in your
like
personal life.
fitness, that type of stuff, health.
Yep. So what I want to know is, have you had any of those issues in the past, and how did you deal with it? Let's talk about personal. Let's talk about relationship first of all. Have you ever had any of those in your relationships? Or have you ever had anyone else get involved in maybe a partner's life that was a little bit too personal for you?
Well, I think there's probably been experiences in some relationships where so I think like parents, for example, have a big influence on people's lives in general. So when you're in a relationship with someone, depending how close people are with the parents or even siblings, sometimes it can be out of kindness or people wanting to help you in certain ways, but sometimes people can begin to cross boundaries by getting involved and trying to influence the decisions you make within your relationship for what they believe is the better solution or the greater good. I think it's always becomes a tricky one with that, because you've then the thing about boundaries with close people, particularly people in a relationship, and if it's a family or anything like that, is you don't want to offend people. You definitely don't want to offend your partners or whoever you're in a relationship with's family, because it can just cause rocky relationships, can't it?
Yeah.
What about you? Have you had any experiences?
Yeah. So I've had experiences with like exes in the past where like, let's say their parent, let's say their mum or their dad would try and get involved in our relationship.
Yeah.
Like try basically tell us how to sort of act in a relationship and try to possibly even influence decisions that you make in relationships.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example. Like my mum loves me very dearly, and she, no matter what the situation is, she will try to be fair, but even I can see that like she's a little bit biased when it comes to stuff. Let's say I spoke to her and I said, mum, I feel a little bit of pressure with, having to be the man of the house, having to make sure that, things are looked after or things are paid for and everyone's okay financially or whatever else. My mum would instantly just think, oh, why is your missus not doing enough? Or, so parents always tend to stick, like, they always tend to be a bit biased towards...
It's biologically built that way though, isn't it? Like mothers are maternally always going to be biased towards their partner. They always want what's best for the child, yeah. But this is where the boundaries can become an issue, because what's best for their child might not always be what's best for their child's partner.
Yeah.
And with that also, within a relationship, it has to be for the two people within the relationship to decide on what happens within the relationship, and not any external factors.
Would you say if you felt like you was with a partner that was a good person,
Yeah.
a person that was caring, met all your needs, and let's say your mum said, I don't like her, would that make you leave the person?
I think I don't, not straight away. No, I think the first thing that I would do is like, you need to ask why.
Let's say she said she just has a bad feeling about this person.
It depends. You'd have to do more research into it. You'd have to say, Mum, why do you have a bad feeling about this person? What is it about this person that you have a bad feeling about?
It's her maternal instincts.
Maternal instincts can be right.
So what you did?
I don't think
Stay or leave it.
I'm always a person that would probably make my own. No, I'm always a person that would make my own decisions. So it would make me a bit more cautious, but it wouldn't directly make me leave somebody.
Right. So let's say your mum was like, listen, if you're going to continue seeing this girl, like, it could affect our relationship.
Then, to be quite honest with that, I'd say, Mother, you're crossing some boundaries.
You need to relax.
I'd say if that was the case, then it's that is issues that mother would have that you would have to like try and help her get through, because maternal instincts can be there, but it doesn't mean that at the end of the day everybody's still a person. Father, mother, son, daughter, we're all people, and people can have selfish aspects within their personality, or things that have happened in the past that have made them think certain ways. So I think in a situation like that, it'd be worth trying to figure out, like, okay, so what is it that's so serious that's pushing you into making me pick between two people? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, Carl's mum would never ever do that.
Not in a million years. Not in a million years. She's so chill.
Neither would mine.
She's so chill. But that's like a whole different topic, because that's like that would be a psychological issue within a parent that needs addressing. I would say, because no parent should be making their child to decide between two people.
Some parents do, though. You know that.
Some parents do, but that's for their own needs.
Yeah.
That's thinking about themselves. If somebody's doing that, that's thinking about themselves as opposed to thinking about their child's best needs.
Right. So what?
Because if it was about their child's best needs, they would support them. They would think, do you know what? If they're going to stay with them, and I know that this person is wrong for them, then I need to find a way to support them even more and make sure. Do you get what I mean? Unless the person that they're with is toxic and bringing negative issues into the family, then you could say, like, do you know what? You're bringing a lot of bad things that happen within the family, so we need to distance from.
Right. So what if there are traits of toxicity, but it's not major yet? So let's say you're seeing certain things that she's doing, and you're like, but she hasn't really done anything major yet, and your mum is like, this girl is not the one for you. Like, this girl, it's either her or me.
Well, then it's beginning to come from a place of general concern, isn't it? Because if they're showing traits of toxicity, then that means that somebody's picking up on that, and it could be a mother, it could be a friend or whatever. If someone's picking up on that and bringing it to light, then it's something that you should look into yourself.
But how do you look into it?
Awareness is the first thing, isn't it? An external source helping you being aware of something that's going on is always a good start. Then it gives you the actual sort of the drive to be like, okay, maybe I need to start watching out for these things. It's good to try and we're going into the relationship spectrum here, but it's good to step out of, rather than get sucked into something, step out of it and look at it as a whole. Which is why stuff like journaling comes into handy, because you can actually write stuff down and see it as a whole, rather than being too sucked into it.
Mm. How about if in, let's say, your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say even finances. Yeah. So in
Okay,
finances.
this is an interesting one.
So in finances now,
Yeah.
your mum is like, listen, you got a bad spending habit, and you need to be giving me about £1,000 a month to keep for you.
Ooh, damn. Okay, that you see, because that's coming out. That's coming out of a good place. If you've got general bad spending habits, it's coming out of a good place, isn't it? But where's the there's got to be a fine line of being controlling and out of just generally trying to help somebody. Because if somebody was trying to control my finances, I would first question what financial skills, or how much more financially advanced are they than me, that is going to benefit me letting them influence my finances, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that would be my first question.
Okay. So after that, what do you say? Like, do you let her do it or not?
It depends. If I'm really, really not spending well, then I wouldn't be against an external factor helping me to an extent. But it's something that you've got to learn yourself as well, because you can't keep depending on other people to help you do these things. It's something that you need to learn yourself, isn't it? But sometimes a quick little external boost or a help, because you should always be willing to accept external help when it's there. But you just need to make sure that it's not control. You need to make sure that you're still in control of the situation.
Okay. Well, this one happens a lot. How about you've got friends and they start liking your missus photos. Is that okay? Mrs. has a naked, well, not naked. She's on the beach.
If my missus
in a bikini.
If my missus was putting naked photos on social media, then mother was right. There is something not right about this girl.
So she's in a bikini on the beach, and your friend likes her photo. Is there something wrong with that or no?
If it was just one photo of the girl on the beach, and it wasn't like a camera roll of like she's just been on holiday and she's doing this, then it's I don't know. Maybe. What do you think?
I asked first. Nah, you know what? In a big, I don't think that's right. Personally, because
it depends on what the picture is like and what the caption is as well.
Wait, if she's in a bikini on the beach, what are you liking? Are you liking the beach? Or are you liking her body? You know what I'm saying? Like, when you like something...
But this is what I mean, though. If it was a girl just in a bikini...
Your girl.
Like, right.
Not a girl, your girl.
If it was my girl in a bikini on a beach, and it was like, not like a close-up modelling specific picture, do you get what I mean? That type. Yeah. If it was like just, hey, I'm on a beach in Australia on a holiday, and in the caption it says, it's great to be in Australia on this beach somewhere I've wanted to go for ages or whatever. Do you get what I mean? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then that's much more casual than like a proper modelling picture. Do you get what I mean? That sort of picture. So I think that would be two different scenarios for me.
What if he likes a couple of pictures?
Well, if it starts to become a habit, then you're going to have to say something, isn't it? That's crossing a boundary.
Is that crossing a boundary? Some people would be like, look, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Some people would be like, well, she's your girl, but me and you are friends. Like, she's
it depends how close they are as well, in terms of like,
how close should they be? How close can they be?
Well, they can't be too close, can they? Because then again it gets weird. That's an interesting question. This is some like crazy serious boundary questions. I think when it becomes, it depends on who you are. Isn't it? If it become, I think the only way you can gauge it is if it starts to feel a little bit like overstepping or a little bit uncomfortable, then it's better to just to say something early, to say like, hey, notice you keep liking his pictures, like why do you keep liking them? What is it about you like him? Or
And
it's
he,
a bit,
he just says, "Oh no, it's just she looks nice."
well, what would your reactions be to that?
My reaction would be, mate, we wait. What would? All right. In reality,
But I don't.
let's not be childish about it. In reality, my reaction would be, I think that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
I feel very uncomfortable about it. You need to stop liking her photos.
Mm.
That would be my reaction. But like the devil inside of me would be like, mate, you're an idiot. What are you doing? Like, why are you thirsting over someone else's girl? Like your friend's girl as well. You know what I'm saying?
I think it does completely depend on the pictures, like bikini picture. Let's say they're putting bikini picture on holiday outside the cathedral in Barcelona or something like that, and then another bikini picture, and then another picture in like a family party, something like that. If they're liking if there's like a trend of they keep liking the bikini pictures, that's something that's crossing a boundary. If they're liking the pictures where it's just like casual travel pictures and more normal pictures, I wouldn't really think much into that at all, to be honest.
Right, how about your friend's going through something with his girl, calls your girl at 12 o'clock at night to ask for advice. So your girl called you the next day, goes, Kyle, John called me yesterday night at around 12. He was asking for some advice about him and his girl have some issues. How do you feel about that?
I'd say, how the fuck did he get your number? That would be my first question. I don't think I've ever had a mate's girlfriend's number.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really speak to them, do I? Other than if I'm with the mate. Unless it's someone that I already knew before, but that's just not really, I don't really have many girl mates, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's not something that really happens.
You get that? So he's got the number because you two, like, you're all friends. Yeah. He's called her asking for advice. How do you feel? At 12.
Well, if it's genuinely for advice, then I would think he's probably a little bit stressed and needed advice from a girl helping. It depends on what the advice was, innit? Because
so he's saying, look, we're going through some issues. And
as a girl, can you give me some?
Yeah. So as we're going through, me and Joanna are going through some issues. Like, she thinks that I'm not emotionally available enough.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think?
I think that's using your resources, isn't it? Because you're getting a perspective.
But it's at 12 at night.
Yeah, but the guy could have been crying about his girl, splitting up with his girl for the last 6 hours.
12 at night. Midnight.
It's a bit different.
It's at midnight.
It's a bit different to calling someone at midnight though and going like, hey, what you wearing? Do you know what I mean?
Obviously, that would clearly be crossing a boundary.
Exactly.
But it's at midnight. Mate, who calls after... The only people that call me after 10 o'clock are people that I'm extremely close to. Like...
Ain't no one calling me past like 8:30 because my phone goes onto silent mode. And the only person that can bypass that is the mother.
Oh, not your girl. Your girl could, surely.
Well, she could when we was together.
Yeah, but that's...
Yeah.
So, exactly. So 12 o'clock at night, it's a bit mad, isn't it? Come on.
It's a bit out of hours.
It's very out of hours.
Yeah, for sure.
He could have waited till the next morning. It can't be that. I mean, it's not life or death, is it?
No.
Come on.
And plus, there's probably a better ground to to do that from? Like maybe I don't know, start a group chat and get you and the girl in and
Yeah,
ask. Or
Surely,
something.
surely the person would call you and be
Yeah.
like, do you mind if I
But
call Thingy and just
I
ask
think
for?
for that to happen, they'd already have to be pretty close anyway, more than likely.
Yeah,
Do you get what I mean?
yeah.
They
Is
would-
that appropriate? If your girl is close with your best mate, is that an appropriate thing? I'm sure there are people that have that dynamic.
There probably is people that have that dynamic, but I would say that. Well, I think we share the same opinion on this. My opinion is that something that's formed more recently is that from when you leave school is not really that common, or it does. Well, it's common, but it doesn't really, in my opinion, work having a female friend as a guy, because there's just so many playing factors where it becomes not friends. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't think that dynamic works.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
so if I was in a relationship and there was a guy that was close to the girl, I would probably, do you know, without even doing it purposely, I would probably naturally start to push against that. But then that could be crossing a boundary for the girl from her perspective. So that's something, again, you need to work out, isn't it? But I would naturally push against that because obviously, like, you know what guys are, innit? It's a risk factor.
Yeah. Okay. So that's from your mate's point of view. Right. So you've got a female friend and she says, like, you guys have been friends for ages. She's like, look, do you want to come cinema with me? Is that a boundary
And
being
she's
crossed?
got a boyfriend.
No. So you're friends, but she just asked
Well,
you to
no,
go to
because
the
if you're
cinema.
friends, you would go to the cinema with your friend, wouldn't you?
Okay. Right. She
That's,
asked.
if you've got a friend and then it's crossing a boundary asking them to go to the cinema, then I don't know what kind of friends you are.
But a female
Pen
friend.
pals?
Female friend?
Same thing.
Okay.
If you're going to be friends, then it doesn't matter whether you're female or male. That's friends. That's the type of shit friends do, isn't it?
All right. How about she asked you to come over midnight? She just called you. She said, look, I'm a bit down. It's midnight. You know, I was talking to this guy. He blew me off. Could you come over? And it's 12 o'clock at night.
Well, that could be one or two things, isn't it? It's
And she
either
said, I'm naked.
well, if she said that, then I would say there's no boundaries being crossed for the guy. I don't think it would take you long to get there. Well, they could either be trying to get support
Yeah.
or rebound. So, in that circumstance,
So
if they've been blown off,
So you wouldn't see that as a boundary being crossed. You wouldn't be like, well, it's a bit late. Like, well, we're friends. I don't think it's appropriate for me to come in at midnight to see you.
well, this is the thing. This is where I think the dynamics don't work for having a guy and a girl as friends.
Yeah.
Because I think the girl will have much more boundaries than the guy. I think the guy's boundaries would be very limited in a friendship, because if the girl would say, do you know what, let's, I think, for example, if a girl went in to do anything sexual, the guy would just be like, okay, that's fine, no boundaries. But then in a friendship with a girl and a guy, if the guy was to try and lean in for a kiss or do anything, then that could be crossing a boundary with the girl. Do you get what I mean? I think it's more one-sided.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because guys are guys, isn't it?
I don't know about that, you know. I really feel like it depends on the dynamic, because, for example, I don't have no female friends now, but when I did have female friends, like, I fully knew some of them liked me. You know what I'm saying? And it was more down to me to control, like, how things go to keep it more friendly. And that would be because maybe, like, they used to help me with work at uni, or even at, like, when I was working where I used to work. Maybe I like sort of having them as friends for workplace
But I think that's
reasons.
different. I think having work friends and having I think you've got work friends and then you've got like an out of work, actual your circle friends.
Yeah, no, you go out with them, so they are friends, but you fully know that they like you. Like, I've been in a situation where
Yeah,
I've fully known that they liked me.
I think that's completely different because, like, in work, you're around these people, you're going to form friendships because you're around them all the time.
Yeah.
But that's completely different to having someone in your actual immediate circle as a friend, like a very close friend outside of work that you would regularly do stuff with. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, but very close is like a bit of a loose term, innit? So I didn't say very close. I'm just saying that your friend, and you do see them outside of work or university or whatever. I don't think it's necessarily one-sided. I feel like it just depends on the dynamic.
Yeah.
You understand? I feel like more times than not, it's the guy that's like willing to cross those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like it's necessarily always just the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But there's always going to be cases where it's not, isn't it?
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. So you have a friend. She says, "Come at 12." You're saying that's not crossing a boundary.
It depends what your intentions are in the situation, doesn't it? If you're a guy that is,
Your intentions are pure, obviously.
if you're just friends, then well, no, because I don't know. I think you would have to try and use it as if you had a friend that was a guy that needed your support at 12, would you go and see them and support them?
Yeah.
So then it should be the same with a girl, isn't it?
It should be.
So I don't think it would be crossing a boundary. I think if you went there and, like you said, she was naked, and you had no intention, I think that's crossing a boundary because now you just made the friendship awkward.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Right. How about this? Because I'm just giving you different scenarios here. So how about you've got a mate, and he says, like, so you've got a mate, you've got, let's say, 70k in your account that you saved up, and your mate says, "Could you borrow me 20k?" Is that crossing a boundary? I don't even know if that's like the right question, but do you think?
No, I get the angle that you're going with it.
Yeah.
There's so many variations in terms of how you could ask it, but I understand the premise behind it.
Yeah.
It would depend on so many factors for that one, because if, for example, if this person's borrowed money off you loads of times, and then they come out and ask for a big lend after, even though you've lent them money consistently, then it's like, are you taking a piss? That's crossing a boundary.
Yeah.
But if it's a friend that genuinely needed it to get out of a spot of trouble and you knew for a fact they were going to pay you back, then that's not really crossing so much of a boundary, I would say.
Okay. Is there an amount that is crossing a boundary?
That's going to be completely different for everyone, isn't it? Because it depends on how much you make and what you're...
how much you're willing to lend, innit, really?
How much you're willing to lend and how you treat money, isn't it? Because everybody treats money in different ways.
Yeah.
Some people save, some people invest, some people just spend.
Okay.
So, in terms of boundaries in general, we'll stick to with close people. What do you think the best way of making clear boundaries is with? Because like we've just been through so many scenarios, right? And we've just like pretty much shine the light on how difficult it can be to find certain boundaries within different situations, right? So for me, I think, for example, the only way to have people respect your boundaries is to know clearly what your own boundaries are.
Yeah.
Because I don't think enough people know exactly what their own boundaries are, because I don't think people think that much into it sometimes. But I think for people to respect your boundaries, you need to clearly know what your own boundaries are.
Yeah, and you need to train them into it.
Yeah.
So, for example, going back into relationships, because I've been in many, I think like when you get with someone, you've got to sort of make it clear. You don't even have to say it.
It can be naturally formed, innit?
Yeah, so you could even action it. So, for example, if your missus or whatever says, you get into an argument and she shouts at you, or she swears at you, your reaction to that, the first time it happens, it's gonna set a very clear boundary. If you just go, "Oh fuck you too," or da 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 da, or you just brush it off, or you don't sort of make a point of it, then you've now set a boundary for your relationship. That's fine. You can swear at me.
That's
you
so
can shout
true.
at me.
Yeah.
You know, but as soon as that happens, if you make it clear that if you ever talk to me like that again, like this relationship is over.
Yeah.
It might sound a bit harsh, but it's the kind
that's setting a clear boundary.
That's how you set boundaries, you know what I'm saying?
And that's why I think it's important to know what your boundaries are. It's ideal to sit down, because this shit don't even take long. Sit down, get a notepad and think, what are my boundaries? What are my boundaries in relationship? What are my boundaries in a friendship? What are my boundaries in relationships with family? Because if you figure out what they are, then going into a relationship, you're going to be able to make sure that those boundaries are set early, and you can be assertive about it. But I think it's also important to be consistent with it as well.
Yeah.
Because if you go into a relationship and for example, your girlfriend swearing at you and that's something that you don't like, but then sometimes you let it slide, but then other times you're like, nah, this ain't right. You're not being consistent with it. So it's like, can they do it? Can they not?
Yeah, are you really enforcing it?
Exactly. So I think a boundary needs to be
enforceable.
You need to enforce it. You need to be assertive with it. You need to make it. It needs to be clear and consistent.
So do you think, based on that, do you think you've had enough boundaries in your previous relationships?
No.
So, do you think boundaries are a sign of like self-respect and self-awareness as well?
100%. I think the more you self-reflect, the more you self-respect. I literally that one I did make up. That one I did come up with.
The more you self-reflect, the more you self-respect.
Yeah. If you can sit down and figure out,
that's a golden nugget.
If you can sit down and figure out, what are my boundaries? What am I willing to accept within this relationship, whether it's with a partner or family or whatever, friendship? And what are my non-negotiables? If you can figure that out with yourself, then whether you get a new girlfriend, boyfriend, whether you make a new friendship, you already know within yourself what you're willing to accept, which means you can get a clear understanding early on of a situation of like, this is what I'm about. If you don't align with these boundaries and align with the things that I respect about myself, then this relationship isn't going to work. Basically, if you don't align, then you're going to naturally have to drop them. Because if you don't, you're only going to push away. You're going to naturally react and push away anyway. And then you're just going to be living a life of being anxious and reactive to whoever it is that's around you.
Right. So we want to dive a little bit more into you, just so we can have some examples. What do you think is a clear boundary that you should have set previously that you didn't? I'm the interviewer today, lads.
I'm in the hot seat, clearly. Do you know what? I wrote down a list of boundaries, and I'm actually going to get it up as well. This is why it's good to write them down. Bear with me a second.
Carl writes everything down.
Notes on the iPhone, the Notes app, is such a useful thing to use. Like, I have so many going on, but if you think something and then you don't write it down, that's gone and it's probably not going back. If you write it down, the fact that you've wrote it down means it's going to stick in your brain for much longer. Right, here we go. Right, so one boundary that I would have is that I would expect my like a wind down time, a period, to be respected. Okay. Do you get what I mean? So, for example, a lot of people like to unleash and moan about certain things at certain times, and night time's usually a time that a lot of people do it. From like an hour before I go to bed, I need to just unwind from all the shit that's gone on in the day. And I don't want to be in a situation where I have a go, like, just, or anyone is like constantly talking about negative things before I go to bed and getting my brain firing up. And do you get what I mean? Or arguing or anything like that. So for me, I would expect my downtime to be respected. It's like, do you know, there's so many hours in the day, it's 1 hour of a day, where I would expect just to let myself relax and not have to worry about too much. Do you get what I mean? That's not to say like, hey, don't speak to me. It's just, it's just making sure that it's nothing that's going to start firing my brain up too much, if that makes sense. What about you? Have you got any boundaries that you've not used in the past that you've...
Honestly, no.
I feel like you set boundaries pretty well anyway.
Yeah. I mean, why do I set boundaries? Right. I feel like I do set boundaries well. I would say the reason why I set boundaries well, and the reason why I've always sort of set boundaries, is because, like you said, I've always known what my boundaries are. You know, and that's maybe because I studied psychology at university. Like, I know the stuff that trigger me, the stuff I don't like, the stuff I do like, you know, so I've always been able to set boundaries well, and I feel like I'm quite a dominant person. So in a way, it's easier to set boundaries when you're quite dominant, because you kind of...
You're naturally going to do it anyway.
You're naturally going to do it,
yeah.
You know. Yeah. But how about you? You know what I want to know though? So on that boundary stuff, I've always set boundaries well, and I can't really think of many times recently, let's say in the last 5 to 10 years, where anyone's really like overstepped their boundary, to say. But when it happens, like, whoever oversteps their boundaries, they feel the heat pretty quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like, they do feel the heat pretty quickly. So on that, actually, interesting that you asked that, because these boundaries, you just mentioned one. How many of you sort of roughly?
I'm still figuring my boundaries out, because for a long time, I was, for a long period of my life, I just went with the flow, and I didn't really even stop to think about my boundaries.
What is that though, guy with the flow? You see, this is why.
Never self-reflecting.
Never self-reflecting.
Never self-reflecting, which I think a majority of people do. It's just...
Wait. You think, you think the majority of people don't self-reflect or
don't self-reflect? I don't think many people do it at all. I think it's just not self-reflecting is getting up. It's never taking even 5-10 minutes of your time just to stop and think, do you know what? Like, what do I believe in? What really actually triggers me? What are my non-negotiables? What are boundaries that people cross that I feel that make me feel uncomfortable? Nobody actually stops to ask themselves that.
Right, chat. I need to know I need to know if that is true, because that sounds mad to me. Like, I can't imagine not having boundaries and not self-reflecting. Like, I self-reflect all the time. Like, if I was to get into an argument with Carl right now, I wouldn't even plan it. I would start self-reflecting straight away. What caused that argument? Like, what could I have done differently? What would I do next time? What did he do? What did I do? You know, for me, it's like a natural response to self-reflect on everything. Like, literally, every single thing that happens, I self-reflect on straight away. Like, so, chat, comments, you need to let me know, is that true that most people don't have boundaries?
Don't self-reflect.
Is it true that most people don't self-reflect? I need to know that. And you seem like a very self-reflecting person.
That's recent. That's something I've started doing recently in the past couple of years. But I think that's a great place to leave it. because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like Paul said, write down in the comments whether you guys self-reflect or spend even, a couple of minutes just to figure out the type of stuff that we've just been talking about. And if you haven't, try it a couple of times this week. Just sit down for 10 minutes with a notepad and just write down, do you know what am I, if I could pick a boundary, 5 boundaries, what would they be? And let us know how it goes. And try and enforce them a little bit.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that last part. You learn something every day.
Learn something every day. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching.
We've got another great video that we think you might be interested in if you want to keep getting a little bit of knowledge from two nice, normal guys.
If you want to get a bit of knowledge from 2 of the most unknowledgeable guys you've ever met.
we just act like we know what we're talking about.